All right, two big injuries in the NFL this week that could alter seasons. Cam may get the call. The Jets find an unlikely savior amongst their midst. There are no remaining teams unbeaten, but only the Lions remain winless. And this just in, breaking news, Matt Nagy still has a job. All this and more on the Horsemen Pro Football Talk podcast coming up next. All right, here we go. Welcome back to another edition of the Horsemen Pro Football Talk podcast. This is week 9 of the 2021 season. I'm Brad.
This is Zach.
And I'm Hefe.
Hey, we want to invite you to join our Patreon community. There you can find all of our stuff all in one nice, neat place. We have individual game analysis, Fantasy Central, weekly pick'em contests, and more. Go to www.horsemansports.com right now and join us there. We certainly appreciate your support. More things to come for sure. Also, if you're watching this on YouTube, before you go, hit the subscribe button and the bell icon so you never miss any content. And you can find us on Facebook and Twitter at Horsemen Sports. Oh, and did we mention you can catch both shows back to back, the weekly breakdown and the Fantasy Central with Zach and Hefe on WUBI, Ubiquity Radio, on Thursdays at 5 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time and 2 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, which is sure to change on Sunday. And, oh no, I've gone cross-eyed.
I was about to say the same thing.
Yeah, so it's 2 p.m. in Arizona, and check your local listens there. All right, let's start with our weekly Pigskin Pick'em leaders. Congrats to, me again. It's hard to be humble sometimes, but to be fair, me and Willie on the west side and I both, to use proper grammar there, both got a paltry 8 picks correct this week, which was enough to be at the top. But I don't know who he picked tonight. I'm assuming the Chiefs, but at this point, that's not even guaranteed that is going to be a win for the Chiefs. This getting 8 picks and winning is indicative of what this entire season has been like. I'm just glad to be on the other end of that for a change this year because I've had some rough weeks. But what a weird season, huh?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking when I came in to see, how I did. I saw that I had 70 points. There have been 14 games so far. That means I got 7 games right. I'm 7-7. I was like sitting here thinking like, okay, I'm doing horrible this week. Todd Haney and Trey are going to have like 130 points at this point, and I come in and see that I actually have 70, and I picked the Giants to win tonight. So if they win, I will tie for the lead this week.
Oh, very nice. I'm kind of the points. I picked the Chiefs, but I'm kind of the point where I'd like the Giants to win. Let's see what they can do. But yep. now I got a flip flop on that. Now I have to root for the Chiefs because I can't root for you. And I'm sorry, I can't root for you. I support you in everything you do in your life. I'd root for everything except for tonight. I don't want you to win. Sorry.
That's all right. I don't want you to win either.
All right. Well, there you go. And Zach is remaining neutral, apparently.
Yeah, I'm just kind of hanging back behind everybody. Can't really pull ahead, but I'm 5 games behind first place, but I can make it up. We're almost halfway through the season.
Yeah, we're right to the halfway point. So, they screwed it up with 17 weeks. I don't know. I guess this is that. Last week was just under the halfway point. This week is just over the halfway point. Should we run down at the end? I'm going to pull up a playoff picture and we'll run down the playoff thing at the end, and then we'll stick that graphic in. You guys okay with that?
Yeah.
I was thinking about doing it next week, but I didn't realize this is going into week 9. So, okay. All right. So this week, the teams that have a bye this week are the Detroit Lions. Thank God. Just for their sanity, they need it. The Seattle Seahawks, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and the Washington football team. The Lions are getting worse. They're winless, and it's really bad. We talked about this. I feel bad for Lions fans. At this point, I'm starting to feel bad for Dan Campbell. I know he's a guy that got a lot of emotion, a lot of energy. He's given everything he has, but I think the heart is gone. I think they were scrappy and playing hard in the beginning. But this may be a turning tide here. Mad Dan may have lost or is losing the locker room. And I don't really know much more to say about that. It's sad I hate watching teams go winless unless they're Jacksonville.
Yeah, pretty much. And for a little while, it looked like the Lions could be one of those teams that could pull a couple of sneaky wins out. It seemed like, there were a lot of people betting on the Lions to win this game against the Eagles. A lot of people thought they could finally do it, and they looked terrible in this game. Like you said, it just seems like they continue to get worse, which is not what we usually see, especially with the coach that has so much emotion and whatnot, and the coaching staff that he put together. I thought there would be, some success, but right now it looks like the confidence in Jared Goff is very low, and they might be looking to get a quarterback with that first overall pick.
Yeah, it's a new coach, a new system. It's going to take some time, and they're the typical Detroit Lions, right? Like they've been pretty much the laughing stock of the league the last I don't know how many years, ever since I've been alive, pretty
60.
much.
They have 6 playoff appearances in 60 years, and 5 of those they lost in the first round.
Well, there you go. So I like the heart. And I like the enthusiasm that Dan Campbell brings. So even though they're going to be awful this year, maybe in the next year or two after he gets this locker room under check and he gets the culture built that he wants to bring to Detroit, maybe then they will begin to see positive results. But for me personally, I like what he's doing, even if they're not winning ball games. He's out there showing that he still cares and he wants to have a winning organization. And you can't really get that with a whole lot of coaches out there with the whole authenticity behind it,
Yeah, I agree with that, which may be the only reason that he'll have a longer reprieve of not losing the confidence of the locker room. If he hasn't lost it already and he can pull out a couple wins, if he can, this second half, if he can, I don't think one game's going to do it, but I think if they can win 2 or 3 games over the next 8 or 9 games, whatever they have left, and give that feeling that they're moving the right way, I think he'll keep the buy-in. But I don't know if they go 1-15 or 1-16 or 0-17 or whatever. I don't know that you get guys buying. It's hard to lose every game, and I don't know that you get guys buying in on the offseason. I'm afraid they're going to check out. That's what I'm worried about, is keeping, because the guy could really have it figured out and make big moves in the offseason, really put together a great plan. But if you don't have buy-in, that you're not going anywhere, and that's my concern, that he's. But I don't know. I'm not in the locker room, so I'm just sitting here in Southwest Florida acting like I know what I'm talking about. So that's just the honesty of that. But I was looking at the Browns and the Lions today. Neither one have been to the Super Bowl. The Browns, I think, have been in the playoffs like 16 times over 60 years. They both came in 1960, I think. Or the records were since 1960. And both teams, I feel sorry for both fans, but particularly the Lions, man. It's 6 out of 60 years in the playoffs, and you lose 5 out of the 6 in the first round.
And you have 2 of the best players that have ever played the game, and you got nothing out of it.
Yeah, Barry Sanders and
Calvin Johnson.
Yeah.
And a hell of a quarterback in Matthew Stafford too.
Yeah, great point. So okay, all right. Well, so the next team that has a bye are the Seahawks. The Seahawks proved something to me yesterday. You know what that is?
They suck.
Yeah, well, but they proved to me that they're not as bad as the Jags. So there you go. That's all I got. The Bucs get a week to tune up from a huge NFC South loss to the Saints yesterday. Uncharacteristic. I
didn't get to catch very much of that, but I heard Brady had 3 interceptions, including a pick 6 or 2.
Yeah. And yesterday was the day of the backup quarterback. Which, speaking of which, we're going to talk about this later, but I saw that somebody did you guys see this? That somebody put $1 down on Mike White to lead the NFL in passing in week 8. And that if Mahomes and your boy Dimes don't get 405 yards passing tonight, they get 404 or less, and this guy's going to win $125,000.
Off $1?
Off $1. He bet $1 on the Jets quarterback, Mike White.
I'm pulling for him. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, so I saw a thread and everybody was doing that too. So pulling for the guy. Anyway, there's rumor that Cam may be going to New Orleans.
That's
yeah.
interesting.
And what's even more interesting is that we'll talk about the Saints in a little bit. Let's just we're talking about the Bucks. You know, they lost a game yesterday. They're going to get a tune-up. Brady doesn't lose 2 in a row, especially when he has a week in between. God help. I don't know who they have next week. I haven't looked that far ahead. Does anybody know?
I can find out in just a second.
At this point, it doesn't matter unless it's the Packers because
the Washington football team.
It's going to be brutal. It'll be brutal. And we were talking about Ron Rivera, right? We wanted Ron to do well, and he had some pieces, and we're disappointed with what's happening. I'm going to read the winning percentages of the 7 head coaches under Dan Snyder. Okay. Marty Schottenheimer leads with 500. Do you guys know what Marty Schottenheimer did in Kansas City and Cleveland? Matter of fact, when he was at Kansas City, I think they were the first or the second winningest team in the NFL under his tenure. He's kind of the Denny Pelly. He smashed everybody in the regular season, and something always happened in the playoffs. But he was only 500 at Washington. Next is Joe Gibbs with 477. Super Bowl champion Joe Gibbs.
Is Marty in the Hall of Fame?
I don't know.
I'll look that up while you're talking.
He will be. I just don't know if he is now or not. Joe Gibbs won 2 Super Bowls with the Washington Redskins the first time, and then had 477 win percentage under Joe Gibbs when Dan Snyder rehired him. 418 is Jay Gruden. Jay Gruden got lucky. He overachieved, in my opinion. Throw that one out. 375 is Ron Rivera. 375 is Mike Shanahan, Super Bowl champion head coach Mike Shanahan. 375 is Jim Zorn, and 375 is Steve Spurrier. I just want to kind of throw that out there and wanted to know if anybody saw a pattern here, any type of pattern of what I'm getting at. I think Dan Snyder's bad for the league. I think this email thing. I think there's a whole lot going on with the email thing. When you look at this, he's run this franchise in the ground, and I think he needs to go.
Yeah, I think it needs to be a situation with what the NBA did to what used to be the New Orleans Hornets, now the New Orleans Pelicans, where the NBA just took ownership of it and said, you know, you guys are running this team into the ground. We can't allow that. So they took ownership of it. And then when they stabilized that team, they then brought in people to buy that team. I think the NFL should do the exact same thing with Washington.
Yeah, I was when you first started off, I thought you were going to ask if Ron Rivera's on the hot seat, which I was going to say yes, but I was also going to talk about how I don't think it's actually Ron Rivera. It's more of an organizational thing. So I'm glad you took it this way. They're just, when you have the FBI rating your organization, and then all this is coming out about it, and your team's not winning, and everything just sinks. And yeah, like you were reading off the win percentages on these coaches. I don't think Marty's in the Hall of Fame, but I know Joe Gibbs is. You have Hall of Fame coaches that have coached under you and just not done well. There's definitely a problem, and it starts in the front office and all the way up to the owner. And in this case, so I agree. Yeah, he absolutely needs to go. He's not good for the NFL, and I believe he's actually consolidated his power the last couple of years, been buying out his siblings or something, if I'm not mistaken.
That is correct.
Yeah. Is he doing that because they're getting ready? He's getting ready to sell the team. He knows I don't know what's going on, but he's got to go. And and I even make jokes about Jacksonville. Teams that only win one game in the NFL disrupt the whole thing. We need competitiveness. There will be teams that will be better than others, but the league is better if everybody has between like 4 and 12 or 13 wins, and it makes it competitive. When you start getting this bad and you're consistently this bad and you got good coaches that aren't winning, you're disappointing fans, and it's just not good for the brand. I hate to sound like Pat McAfee.
Can I pose a hypothetical question?
Sure.
If they get rid of Snyder and Bezos buys the team, is that good for the NFL?
I don't have any idea.
I know
Well,
there are a lot of owners that don't want Bezos involved.
well, the dude's got so much money he can buy the entire NFL. He has more money than all the other owners combined. So I don't know if they can deal with that
And we
kind of
see what
power disrupting their
but we
hierarchy. You
we
know,
see what the owners with a lot of money do. I mean, they throw their weight around pretty well. And unlike Davis and Jerry Jones and those guys, they live and breathe football. Bezos doesn't, and I can see why they wouldn't want somebody with that kind of that big of a stick that's really not a football guy in the fraternity, because they get what they got now. Unfortunately,
yeah, true. But I mean,
great question.
I don't know the amount of money this dude has. He can. I don't know. They're wanting to put a team over in London. If anybody's going to do it, it's going to be one of the second richest man in the world.
Yeah,
completely personally fund it.
Yeah, wouldn't that be something to take? Wouldn't that be something to take a football team out of the nation's capital and move it to London?
That would be pretty crazy.
All right, let's move on to the games coming up this week. The first one up is the Jets at the Colts. Tale of two different teams yesterday. Colts shot themselves in the foot in the game that they had ownership of at the right time. They were not only in a position to win, I mean, they were winning. They had it. And it's a game they desperately needed to win. They're in a lot of trouble now. The Jets beat one of the hottest teams in the league. There was a horrible roughing the passer call in the end that should never been called. And I know that I've seen the video. I watched the video several times. I don't know how they came up with that. But that didn't have it did have an effect on it, but it didn't have an over dramatic effect on it. And it doesn't matter because the Jets were close enough to win in the end, and they made it happen, and they did win, and that's all that matters. They got the W. So sorry to Bengals fans. I hopped on board last week. They're hot, but congratulations to the Jets and the Jets fans for pulling up a huge win yesterday. I know this one feels good for all of them. And now there may be a quarterback controversy in New York.
Yeah, I was getting ready to ask you guys that when I was going to be up. If Mike White comes in here and torches the Colts on Thursday night, is there a quarterback controversy?
Well, if Mike White comes in and torches the Colts, there is not a quarterback controversy. It's over. Mike White is a starter.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's my opinion.
Absolutely. God, I think with what we just saw from Mike White against the Bengals, who have been one of the better defenses in the league, one of the better secondaries in the league, especially, and he went in there and threw the two early interceptions in that game. But the ability to bounce back from those mistakes on a bad team when things aren't going right in your rookie debut, but he bounced back and obviously, threw the 405 yards, 3 touchdowns after that, no interceptions after the 2 interceptions, and played phenomenal and got his team the win. And so I think, from what we saw in one game with him, it was far more than what we've seen from Zach Wilson in the time that he was in there. So I think no matter what the result is in this game against the Colts on Thursday night, I think there's more than enough reason that Mike White just won this job.
I agree with that. But we've also seen time and time again where a backup comes in and balls out, sets the league on fire. Everybody's talking about him the next day, and then nothing. So no disrespect to Mike White. I'm not taking anything away from what he did yesterday. But that may have been his Al Bundy day that he's going to talk about for the rest of his life. We just don't know. I saw Craig Erickson with Tampa throw for 400 or 500 yards against the Colts. It was the old RCA Dome, and I was there. And he threw for 400 or 500 yards, just lit them up. The next year, the Colts signing, and nothing. You ever heard of him?
Nope.
Exactly. So anyway, I digress. On the other hand, the Colts had it. They had it and just dropped the ball or threw the ball. I wonder how many times you think Wentz has gone back over that play in the 24 hours since it happened. I bet at least 4 dozen. I bet he didn't sleep, wishing he had it back.
Which one? The
interception.
Pick 6? The pick six or the interception in overtime?
Yeah, the pick six at the goal line. That changed everything.
Yeah, but I mean, it's obviously you don't want anything to happen there, but at the pick six was actually better than a safety, because you take a safety there, the game's completely over. At least there was a chance, and he was able to make the comeback and tie it up to go into overtime. And then they just completely bombed in overtime, and he threw an interception, and that ended that. But the pick six was actually the best outcome in that play as it was happening. But as I believe Dan Orlovsky said,
throwing it out of bounds.
Yeah, he said Dan Orlovsky said earlier that you absolutely cannot even have that opportunity to throw an interception like that in that scenario. So yeah, Carson Wentz just has this thing about him where he just tries to extend the plays, and sometimes it works out for him, sometimes it doesn't. That's kind of like a good and a bad with Carson Wentz right there.
That's that Brett Favre mentality. It's the same thing that made him great, makes him dangerous. And you don't get one or the other, you get both. And you know, we keep talking about this. He's getting better every week as he gets familiar with personnel. They still have some injuries. I know this year. I know starting the game, the injury report was good, better than it has been. But he's still trying to pull it all together. I just hope it continues. It just sucks that they could peak and run out 7 or 8 wins out of the rest of the season, and I don't know that it's going to matter. It may be over. But all in all, the Jets are not. I don't think I've been wrong before, which was half of the games last week. But I don't think the Jets are winning back-to-back games in Indianapolis. I'm taking the Colts.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm going to take the Colts as well. I don't know how you know how I feel about Frank Reich. I think they're doing the right things, but there have been so many games the last couple of years that the Colts should have won that they didn't win. And whether it's for this reason or that reason, they're just not getting the wins. I know we've been dealing with a lot of injuries, but if the Colts come out and completely bomb and lose to the New York Jets, I might have to start calling for Frank Reich to hit the road, because this Colts team, this roster is put together, and they are very capable of beating anybody in the league, and we're just not doing it. So it's a result-based league, and we're not getting the results. So if things don't change and change quickly, might have to make a change when it comes to the head coach.
Yeah, I think the hardest part about this Colts team is that, you know, you look at who they've played and you look at the record and look at how they've played. And, you know, when they lose, it's they're shooting themselves in the foot, but they've played some of the best teams in the league and played them close. So it's like this team is that close to being great, but they can't figure it out to get over that hump and to beat the good teams. Like if you look at the teams that the Colts have beat this year, I mean, we haven't beat anybody. So, you know, to win these tough games is what you're going to have to do to get into the playoffs, because for the Colts, the back end of their schedule doesn't look as easy as we initially thought it was going to be. There's still a lot of playoff teams that the Colts are going to have to play. So, you know, they have a couple, you know, quote unquote easy games coming up, games they should win. Like I said, they're at least competitive in these games with the best teams in the NFL. They should be able to win against these easy teams coming up. So I think Colts get a nice easy win, assert their dominance a little bit on Thursday night.
Well, I'm sure hoping so. I mean, I don't want to say that the division is completely out of reach, because, I mean, I don't know if you guys heard, I would assume so, but Derrick Henry potentially out for the rest of the season. So that door is still cracked open, even though you're essentially 4 games back on Tennessee with how many games left? 9? Is that right?
Yeah,
Something
9.
like that.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so 4 games back. But like you said, I mean, we still have the Bills, the Bucks, the Cardinals, the Raiders, the Patriots. So yeah, I don't know, man. I'm not feeling high on this season at all.
Yeah. It's sad, because had they won yesterday and then Henry goes down, we're having a completely different conversation today.
Oh, absolutely.
Can we just take a second and talk about that Tyquan Lewis? When he gets that interception, Colts are up 14-0. Titans are driving. Tyquan Lewis, who is a defensive end, drops back into coverage, gets an interception. And while he's running, his ACL or whatever in his knee, they haven't said the specifics of it, but he blew his knee out. And on the way to the ground, let's go with the ball. Like if the Colts are able to keep possession there, go down the field, score, go up 21-0, it changes the whole complexity of the game.
It does. And the guy's hurt. His season's probably over. I've never played in the NFL. But I would think your first instinct should have been to hold on to the ball no matter what. Right? I mean, you can still scream in agony and pain as you're
you're getting paid millions of dollars to hold on to the football.
It just blew my mind that he just let it go like that. And I'm sure it hurt. I mean, I don't mean to take any of that away. The guy's been playing football at least 20 years, and he's getting paid a lot of money to hold on to the football. I just couldn't believe he dropped it. And this isn't a judgment. I'm sure he wish he hadn't. I mean, we don't need to just railroad the guy and run him out of town like, all the Colts fans on Facebook, but you're right, Hefe. I mean, it changes everything.
Yeah, because you think about momentum in football and how much that matters. If the Colts get the ball, like I said, they go down, possibly score a touchdown, 21-0. Instead, the very next play when Tennessee gets the ball back, it's now first down instead of fourth down, and they get the long touchdown to A.J. Brown. So it changed everything.
It did change everything. But in the end, the W's and the L's are the only thing that matter, and the Colts are in a lot of trouble. But we're all three
hoping for a wild card spot at this point.
Yeah, and they're good enough. They're good enough they can put that together. I mean, just as we're talking about these tough games they have come up, they can win all these games as well. It's just it'll be interesting to see what they do with it. But we're all three taking the Colts this week. All right, next up is Browns at the Bengals. The Browns doing what the Browns do. Is it worse to be a Browns fan or a Lions fan? We just talked about that a few minutes ago. Is it worse to know you just suck and you have no expectations, or is it worse to have the talent giving you false promise and only for something to just go wrong and completely derail it? I don't know.
Definitely worse to be a Browns fan, to think you're going to be so great and for it to start out so well, and they just keep shitting the bed every week. Now, they barely beat the Broncos. They lose to the Steelers. I mean, things are not looking right for the Browns right now.
Yeah. I mean, I know both of them lost yesterday, but one of them did it to a perennial winner who happens to be in their division, and the other one did it to a backup quarterback on arguably one of the worst teams in the league. So, I don't know. But I still believe the Bengals are playing better right now, and they're at home, and so I'm taking the Bengals in this tough AFC North matchup.
Yeah, I'm also going to go with the Bengals. This one's kind of a toss-up to me. I really feel for the Browns because they have so much potential, and I thought they were going to be very good this year, and they've lost some heartbreaking games, and then they're going down with all these injuries to their superstar players. So I really feel for the Browns. I think ultimately they'll be able to pull it out. Depends on what's going on with Baker Mayfield. I don't know. Hefe may have heard more about him. I don't know what his injury status is, but – yeah, I really feel for the Browns right now. They don't have that momentum like Hefe was talking about. The Bengals had it. They were on top of the world. I think they were the number one seed in the AFC before they lost to the Jets this last weekend. But Bengals at home, I have more confidence in them right now compared to the Browns. So I'm also going to go with the Bengals.
Yeah, I think the Bengals, they're such a young team that what I think happened is, you have matchup with the Jets and a backup quarterback at that, and especially a rookie backup quarterback. So I feel like they came in after a huge win, just, lackadaisical, and let things, especially after they had a comfortable lead, they let things get away from them. They got to have that killer instinct kind of deal. So because you don't want to turn into the Falcons. You don't want teams come back on you to become a regular thing. I think they're going to be able to bounce back. They just got a little kick in the groin yesterday, and they're going to be able to bounce back because, like I said, I think it's going to be a hard-fought game. The Browns' defense is still good, but the Browns' offense hasn't looked good over the last few weeks. A lot of that, again, has to do with Baker Mayfield and what's going on with him. So I think the Bengals put it together in a home game this week.
Yeah, and the other thing I want to add is that nobody has any film on Mike White. You don't know what his characteristics are. You don't know where he likes to go. You don't know anything about him, and it makes it tough when you know nothing about a player. I don't know that's, and some days things just click, right? And who knows? Maybe that may have been the day the Jets got their shit together, and we may be talking about the Jets in a completely different context over the next game. Because they do have a new coach and they are trying to put things together, and this may have been step one. So we'll see. But we're all three taking the Bengals. Next up is Broncos at the Cowboys. Broncos got a win yesterday against Washington, but this isn't last year. There is no more parity in the NFC East. The Cowboys are not Washington. They are playing at a high level. They believe they can win. I believe they can win, certainly this week. And I'm taking the Cowboys.
Are the Cowboys the best team in the league? That's a question for you guys.
Well, that's certainly ready to pick a fight on social media with Cowboys fans, isn't it? I don't know. That's a good question. They're certainly playing at that level right now.
Yeah, they're 6-1, and the only loss was that 2-point loss to the Buccaneers for the season opener.
That's a good point.
Hefe, what do you think?
I think I'm sitting here thinking about, if the Cowboys play this team and that team and this team and that team, I think they would need to play the Rams and beat the Rams for me to think that they're the best team. The Rams, especially with the Rams getting Von Miller in a trade, their defense gets even better. Their offense is one of the best in the league. So I think the Rams are the team to beat in the NFL. But the Cowboys are staking their claim as a top 5 team for sure.
But
interesting.
I got to throw something into this. All right. So the Buccaneers beat the Cowboys. The Saints beat both the Packers and the Buccaneers. The Giants beat the Saints. Washington beat the Giants. The Bills beat Washington. The Titans beat the Bills. The Jets beat the Titans. So therefore, the Jets are the best team in the NFL.
Oh my God, it makes sense. Oh, what a crazy season!
What a crazy season! I don't know. And the other question there is what we're seeing from the Cowboys an early peak, or is it sustainable? Right? Did they finally fix the glitch, and they're only going to get better from here, or are they just they we saw that last year with the Bears and with the Seahawks early in the season. They peaked way too early, and then it fell off. So I guess we're getting ready to find out.
Yeah, I think they're legit. Their offense. We know how talented their offense is, and they finally have their defense playing at a very high level, and they've been consistent through the first half of the season. So there's no indication to me that the Dallas Cowboys have peaked. I think they're just an overall very sound team, and they might do some damage here coming up in the playoffs.
If they have not peaked, then the NFC better be on notice, because if the best is still yet to come for the Cowboys, the NFC's in a whole lot of trouble.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
Rams are not. And Hefe, I agree with what you said, but if the Cowboys are going to get better, the Rams are in trouble too. Not that they can't be beaten, but that's pretty, because they're at a high level. So we'll see. Maybe Cowboys fans will get another one.
Oh, don't go that far. It's halfway through the season. They could still. They typically finish 500. They could lose out the rest of the games. You know how it is. But
yeah, well, and that road goes through Green Bay and through Los Angeles. Any one of those three teams can, and the Buccaneers for that matter. Well, and I don't know. Winston isn't coming back from the Saints. We'll talk about the Saints in a minute, but We'll see.
Yeah, as far as this week, I got the Cowboys beating the Broncos.
Yeah, we're all three taking the Cowboys with that. All right, Texans at the Dolphins. I don't even want to talk about that. I don't know at this point. I don't know. I mean, Flores is in so much danger of losing complete control of the locker room. He needs something to fix it. And right now, I have said it's Watson. They're waiting on the trade, but I don't know that it's going to happen this year because they're waiting. The Dolphins the owners approved the trade, but said that he doesn't want him until his legal troubles are over. I don't see that happening. I mean, the deadline's tomorrow, right? So
tomorrow at 4:00. Yep.
Yeah, Tuesday, November 2nd. So Watson isn't coming. I know that I've already starting to see conjecture about Tua being traded. I think the rest of the people are starting to figure out that Tua is not the answer. But I'm not sure it's all at this point. I'm not sure it's all Tua's fault either. And this game scares me. I think this game could legitimately go either way. And the Texans are bad, and the Dolphins are at home. But I'm not going to pick against the Dolphins. I think they're the better team. I want to believe they're the better team. They are at home. I'm taking them. Just trying to make a point. I think the magic left when magic left. You can quote me on that.
Yeah, I'm also going to take the Miami Dolphins here. Both teams are awful. This is going to be a snooze fest. But I genuinely believe that the Houston Texans are tanking to get the number one pick. You're getting ready to lose Deshaun Watson, so what better option to have than the number one pick in the league?
Even though teams, they it's against the rules, so they certainly would not do that, I'm sure.
No, of course not. No, never. But yeah, so I'm going with the Dolphins this week.
So this is one of those games that could change for me later in the week. As of this moment that we're recording this, there's no official word on Tyrod Taylor. He's still day-to-day. If Tyrod Taylor ends up playing in this game, I do like the Texans to win. Without Tyrod Taylor, I think the Dolphins are able to win. This is like the toss-up game of the week. Two bad teams that you have no confidence in week to week. I don't really know, so I'm going to go with the home team. But like I said, if Tyrod Taylor ends up playing, I will be switching my pick to the Texans.
Okay. All right. Well, for right now, we're all three taking the Dolphins. Next game is Falcons at the Saints. Winston is out. We already covered that. I've been critical of him in the past. I'm happy to see him working it out. And apparently, if you're a quarterback who needs a resurrected career, you should go play for Sean Payton. He did the first time with Breeze when he came in a long time ago. He's apparently done it with Winston. Whatever he has said to Winston has corrected some problems. But now he's out for the season, so it doesn't matter. Like I said, there's a rumor that Cam may be on his way to New Orleans. That's an interesting prospect. He might be a plug and play right there. But Hill's expected to return from concussion protocol, I think, this week, or maybe next week. I don't. Is he the guy? I don't know if he's the guy to build a franchise around. I'm not sure anybody knows that just yet. We'll have to see. Either way, the Saints are better than the Falcons, and they're at home. I'm taking the Saints.
Yeah, there's two reasons why I'm going to go with the Saints. Number one, the Falcons are missing like half their entire receiving core. And number two, the Saints defense is still one of the best in the league. So regardless of who's at quarterback with the Saints, they have weapons. They have Alvin Kamara and some weapons on the outside that they can always go to. So they'll be able to play just well enough, and their defense is good enough that they'll cover and shut down the Falcons offense. So I'm going with New Orleans.
Yeah, I think, with Calvin Ridley, doing what he needs to do for him and his family, stepping away from the game, that's great. But in terms of the Falcons, that's going to hurt them a lot. They had some momentum. They were starting to figure it out in Arthur Smith's offense. And then probably the biggest piece of the entire offense it walks away from it. So it's going to be tough to pick the Falcons week to week. It's going to be good to see Kyle Pitts take on a huge workload, and there was so much hype about him. And he looks like Megatron on the field. Like, he can be that kind of talent for them. So it's going to be fun to watch him ball out. I don't think the Falcons are going to be able to win a whole lot of games in the Saints. once they got so many guys back on their defense from injury, that their defense looked shut down. They were able to stymie Tom Brady like they normally do. They did the same thing to Tom Brady last year. The Falcons, I just don't think they have a chance. I'd like to say maybe the underdog wins this one, but Saints are a really good football team. And I think, is Taysom Hill the guy? Probably not. That's why they gave him a 4-year, $40 million a year. So 4 years, $160 million, but all 4 years were voidable. And I don't think a whole lot of it was guaranteed. So they can figure out what they want to do there. I think maybe Trevor Siemian earned a shot because he just beat the Super Bowl champs. But I think, as long as Taysom Hill is coming back, I could see him splitting, almost 50-50 quarterback snaps with Trevor Siemian.
Yeah, Peyton's shown that he's not afraid to do that for sure. So it'd be interesting to see. But the Saints are 5-2, and they're forced to be reckoned with. And so we're all three taking the Falcons. You should too.
Saints.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, I ain't taking the Falcons.
Yeah, I'm not picking the Falcons.
Yeah. What
but
happens?
Everybody out there should take the Falcons.
Yeah. Well, everybody in our pick'em league should take the Falcons. Everybody else should take the Saints. We're all three taking the Saints. But now I have just, put that out into the universe, and the Falcons will probably win, and we'll come back here next week and be like,
did you do that with the Jets last week? You did it with one of the teams. I don't remember who it was.
I did. I don't know if it was the Jets. It may have been.
I think it was.
It may have been the Jets.
That's crazy. We got to go back and check on that.
Because I did do it last week. All right. Next game is Raiders at Giants. We haven't seen what the Giants are going to do against the Chiefs on Monday Night Football. As we're recording this Monday afternoon. The Raiders are coming off a bye, and most importantly, a 2-game win streak. I haven't seen enough out of the Giants, despite being at home, to take them this week. But I'm completely aware that the Giants could be turning a corner, and the Raiders could just be propped up. In the energy of new leadership on the back end of what happened. But all that is just speculation. Based on what I've seen, the Raiders should win this game. I'm taking the Raiders.
Yeah, I don't really have a whole lot to add either. So I like the Raiders more than I like the Giants. Although the Giants are one of those teams. I mean, they just any week they could just sneak up and get you. But I'm going to play the safe pick here and go with the Raiders.
So as somebody who has Saquon Barkley in the fantasy league, I think and hope that this is the game Saquon Barkley is going to be back. So I think that'll play a factor. It could keep this game closer than I think some people may think. Again, we'll have to see what the Giants look like on Monday Night Football. By the time anybody's hearing this, you already know what happened. But I just think the Raiders are really good. Under Rick Bisaccia, they have looked fantastic offensively. They've looked good on defense, and I think they'll carry that on to the road as they go and play the Giants here, and they'll get the win.
All right, we're all three taking the Raiders. All right, next up, Patriots at the Panthers. How about them Patriots?
Yeah, big win.
How about them?
Does that hurt to say that, F.A.?
Hey, I don't like the fact that the Patriots have a better record than the Colts right now.
Yeah.
I don't like it.
Well, not only that, but Mac Jones. Who?
Mac Jones.
Mac Jones is the fourth rookie in NFL history with over 225 passing yards and at least one touchdown in 5 straight games. It's pretty impressive. But unlike the stat we threw out a couple weeks ago of some of the Hall of Fame names, the company he was keeping, I was kind of surprised by these other 3. You guys want to guess any of these? I'm setting you up. You'll never guess.
Yeah, go ahead.
Unless you remember one of them happening, but none of you blurted anything out, so I didn't. Deshaun Watson had 5 games in 2017. Herbert had 7 games in 2020, which is one I thought that you guys might have picked up on. And Dak Prescott had 8 consecutive games in 2016. Other than that, it's never been done before. It's pretty crazy. Pretty crazy. I can tell you this much. I did not pick the Patriots to win in Los Angeles last week, and I am not making the same mistake again this week. I'm taking the Patriots over the Panthers.
Yeah, I'd have to go. I'm going to have to go back and check, but I'm pretty sure anytime I pick the Panthers to win, they lose, and anytime I pick them to lose, they win. That happened to me last year. I forget which team it was. It's kind of like you in the Vikings.
Fucking Vikings.
Yeah. So, I just don't like the direction the Panthers are heading. I know the CMC's been out and all that good stuff, and it's definitely played a huge factor. I don't know. Hefe probably knows because he follows CMC like it's his brother, but yeah, I don't know if he's coming back or not this week. But regardless, the Patriots seem like they're heading in the correct direction, so I'm going to go with New England.
I haven't heard anything about CMC coming back, so at the moment, doesn't seem like he's going to be back just yet, and that plays a factor. And so CMC is in the lineup. I would like the Panthers to win because their offense works when he's there.
That's the only reason, Hefe. That's the only reason you want the Panthers to win.
I mean, of course, I would always want the Patriots to lose, but if CMC was there, I could actually pick the Panthers. But I just can't do it without him there. Here's the diss on the Patriots. You were talking about how good Mac Jones has been. I think he's being carried by a run game. Mac Jones in this last game, even though they won, he was 18 for 35, so barely above 50%, 218 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. So he doesn't turn the ball over, which is great. But the run game is what carries him. It's going to carry him or carried him past the Chargers. I think it's going to be able to carry them past the Panthers this week. And I have the Patriots winning on the road.
I'd just like to say there have been a lot of Super Bowls won by a quarterback that doesn't throw the ball away and a strong running game and a defense. That is a recipe for winning right there. And it's one that Bill Belichick could, he's aware of, and he really could, which is, looking at Bill Belichick, except for a few years, that's kind of the formula he hit on. He just happened to have an above average quarterback that emerged out of it. I don't know if the Patriots, I don't know if we got another dynasty, but I'm not saying that. I just agree with Zach. I think the Patriots are heading in the right direction. Mac Jones is still a rookie, I think the Patriots are going to be a formidable AFC foe again in the future. And it might be this year. I mean, they might, the second half season, they might upset some people and cause some problems and some teams to miss the playoffs. It'd be interesting to see. But I think we all agree, regardless what happens, the Panthers aren't going to beat the Patriots this week. Bills at Jags. The Bills-Dolphins game was actually closer than I expected. What was it, 26-11 or something? It was a weird score. I know that.
Yeah, 26-11. Yep.
26-11. Yeah. But for as much as that is going wrong in Miami right now, the Bills aren't playing the Dolphins. They're playing the Jags. The Urban Meyer debacle continues. This will legitimately be an ass whipping, and I'm taking the Bills, and I hope you two are too.
No, actually, I'm taking the Bills.
Yeah, this is a pretty simple one. Bills. Oh, by the way, Josh Allen, I don't know if you guys heard, Josh Allen has now moved above Kyler Murray as the new favorite to win the NFL MVP.
I thought you were going to say he got hurt. Oh, my. Oh, my fantasy hopes and dreams were just flying away.
I thought I was like, I know you're not that big of a Josh Allen fan, so it's got to be fantasy for that reaction you just gave.
You scared me there, Hefe.
Yeah, but like you guys, I'm taking the Bills.
All right, we're all three taking the Bills, and everybody should too. I don't even at this point. What's the percentage on Pick'em? Has anybody looked at that lately?
98-2.
Yeah, well, Duvall, y'all.
I'm surprised that one's not 99.
Jags fans think they can win, apparently, or somebody's really just trying to catch up on their picks. All right, next game up is Vikings at the Ravens. The Ravens are at home, coming off a bye week, and fuck them Vikings.
Yeah, I gotta go with the Ravens here too. They're 5-2, Vikings 3-4, Ravens at home. Although I mean the Vikings could sneak in there. This could be a good game. You never know if the Ravens are going to show up and look like the best team in the league, or they're just going to be mediocre. But the way that they have played over the last few weeks, to all indications say that they are going to win this game. So I'm going to go with Baltimore.
I think coming off of a bye week and a bad loss, I guess I kind of said the exact same thing about the Chargers. I thought they would come off a bad loss in a bye week and explode. So I could be wrong here again. And the Vikings could surprise us again. Every time we go against the Vikings, seems like they surprise the world. So I'm going to go with the Ravens here. I just feel like, after a bye week, John Harbaugh coaching this team after a bye week, they should be able to put it together. They, had more time to get Rashad Bateman even more involved in what they're doing in the offense and more reps with Lamar Jackson. And I think that's going to play a big part in this offense as they go through the rest of the season. And it's going to make their passing game more dangerous, which it needs to be because of all the injuries they have to all the different running backs. So I think it starts here. In a game against the Vikings, I'm taking the Ravens.
Yeah, you both realize that I picked the Ravens, right?
Of course.
The Vikings do the exact opposite. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Vikings win this game. I'm just warning you. I want you to know they do exact opposite of what I choose. So, but for right now, we're taking the Ravens, and you probably should too. All right, next game up is the Chargers at the Eagles. Eagles seem to be picking their game up a little bit. Chargers coming all the way across the country. But when you kind of break things down, one team's still trying to find their identity. The other's trying to move up to the next level. I think the Chargers got stunned this weekend. By all rights, the Chargers should win this game. So I can't pick against them. I'm taking the Chargers.
Honestly, this is a toss-up game for me. I think the Eagles have a very real possibility of upsetting the Chargers here, but I'm going to play the safe pick and go with Los Angeles over Philadelphia. But don't be surprised if the Eagles pull this one out.
I thought it was interesting that the Eagles, as soon as the Eagles, best running back goes out with an injury, they decide to run the ball a bunch. I mean, I'm pretty sure that Jalen Hurts only threw the ball, 11 times in this game or something insane like that. He threw the ball 14 times in this game. And they finally decided to run the ball. And, I mean, it's against the Lions, right? So how much can you weigh what they did into it? That's just the way the game fell. They were winning the entire game. But I think it's something that they should and will continue to do. I mean, as a coach, we're going to see if Sirianni knows what he's doing. Because if they don't continue to run the ball like that, everybody's going to wonder why not, and he's going to be fired at the end of the season. So I think they're going to continue to run the ball. I think the Chargers defense can't stop the run. That's why they lost to the Patriots. If you can't get off the field because you can't stop the run, you're not only going to keep your offense off the field, not putting up points, but the other team is just marching down and continuously putting up points, whether it's field goals or touchdowns. And I think the Eagles are going to be able to do that. The Chargers haven't looked good recently, so right now they're inconsistent. I don't know if they're going to be great this weekend. I don't know what's going to happen, but I think the Eagles continue to do what they did against the Lions. They run the ball, they control this game, and because the defense, I think, can stop Justin Herbert. The secondary for this team, for the Eagles, is good. I think they can slow them down in the pass game. So I think the Eagles get the upset win this week.
Oh, wow. Zach, did you take the Eagles or the Chargers?
I'm taking the Chargers, but I do think that the Eagles can pull that out.
Yeah. I remember you now saying safe pick, and that's exactly what mine is a safe pick. Hefe's going out on a limb, and he's picking the upset here. So Zach and I are taking the Chargers, and Hefe is taking the Eagles. So if the Eagles win this game, are they moving? Are they moving up? I mean, they moved up to another level. Are they a threat?
I wouldn't go that far.
Well, we'll talk about at the end of this podcast. We're going to talk about the playoff picture. So we can have that conversation then as we look at all the records. So next up is Packers at the Chiefs. I don't need to see the Chiefs play tonight against the Giants. The Packers, we discussed this earlier, one of the top 3 or 4 teams in the NFC. They pulled off a huge win against the Cardinals. That's a momentum killer for the Cardinals. Unless they get coaching, they can use that the right way to use that to bounce back. A big boost, ego boost for the Packers. Chiefs have a lot of vulnerabilities, and I think Rodgers is going to exploit half of them, and I'm taking the Packers.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm also going to take the Packers because you know how I feel about the Packers. I think they're one of the better teams in the league, if not the best team in the league. The Chiefs' defense is just complete garbage that has been exploited all season long already. So I have no doubt that Aaron Rodgers will be able to do that, even if he is playing without his top 5 receivers. I do want to throw out an interesting stat. I'm sitting here looking at the points for, points against for all the teams in the league this year. And the Packers at 7-1 have 192 points on the season. The Colts and the Eagles at 3-5 have more, as well as the Patriots at 4-4 have more than the Green Bay Packers on offense, which is kind of weird because when you think about the Packers, you think about Aaron Rodgers and a high-flying octane offense, but they're just not putting up the points, but yet they're still pulling out the wins. So, I just thought that was interesting. I don't know if you guys want to chime in on that or not, but yeah, I'm taking the Pack.
Yeah, well, people talk about you hear a lot when a quarterback's not an elite quarterback, they're just a game manager. Aaron Rodgers is both an elite quarterback and an elite game manager, and he's doing that for the offense. Him and Matt LaFleur, and they're able to get the run game going. They're using A.J. Dillon more this year. I think it's just more ball control, and there are less possessions in the games that they play. But because they have the pieces that they have on offense, Green Bay is able to execute on most of those possessions and get field goals and touchdowns. And the defense, Joe Barry is doing a good job. I honestly think whoever the guy is that filled in for Joe Barry in this last game against the Cardinals, he should be the defensive coordinator and should flip roles with Joe Barry, because I thought the defense looked phenomenal. His play calling in that game as defensive coordinator was phenomenal. So the defense has stepped up even with Jair Alexander out. I thought they were going to fall apart when that happened, but they've made a couple trades. Whitney Merciless gets released from the Texans. They pick him up. They make a trade for Jalen. I think Jalen Smith was a trade, right? Either trade or got dropped and picked up. They're making acquisitions to get that defense better. The offense is what it is, and the Chiefs have been inconsistent this year. It's hard to go against the reigning MVP and this team, especially because Alan Lazard is already activated off of the COVID-19 list for this week. You would imagine by the time the game rolls around, Devontae Adams is ready to get back in the lineup and play for Sunday. So it's hard to go against the Packers, and I won't do it.
All right. We're all 3 taking the Packers. I'm real close to saying you should too, but do what you want. It's free country. All right. Next game up is the Cardinals at the 49ers. Big NFC West matchup. I know the 49ers are struggling to get things in sync. The Cardinals are playing a super high level. They got the first loss last weekend against the Packers. If you're going to get beat, you want to get beat by a team like the Packers. But it's an interdivision game, and it's in San Francisco. This could be the Cardinals' second loss of the season, but I'm not willing to wager on that at all. I'm taking a safe pick, like Zach would say, and I'm taking the Cardinals.
Yeah, I feel the same as you, so I can't really add a whole lot more. Cardinals are 7-1, 49ers are 3-4. I know they've been dealing with injuries and stuff, but I can't go against the Cardinals here.
Yeah, from what we've seen from the 49ers, people saying Jimmy G just has his best game as a Niner, and he was able to come back in that game. But we haven't seen it consistently from them. The Cardinals played a good team in the Packers. They played a very good team, and then they lost that game. And they have some injuries stacking up, and that's going to be a little concerning. But I think they should be able to win this game. Like you guys said, it could get a little weird because it's an interdivision matchup. But I do think that the Cardinals are going to be able to get the win here in San Francisco.
Okay, we're all three taking the Cardinals. You should too. Next up is Titans at the Rams. I mean, the Titans withstood a feisty Colts team in Indianapolis yesterday, and it was a slugfest that had division implications. And the Colts are way better than their record shows. We've been talking about that consistently. I mean, they're a really good football team. They just got to figure out how to finish. But the Rams are pretty good, to say the least. They just humiliated the Texans, and everything. I mean, I don't want to say everything. There's the Titans got a lot going on, but Derrick Henry is the key piece to that offense, and it will be a completely different. I don't care who they put in there. Derrick Henry is like the kid you played 8th grade football with that was already 190, 200 pounds in the 8th grade, and he just flat runs people over. And he's doing that at a level with all the. It's ridiculous to watch the guy run. He's a freak. And the Titans are really going to miss him, and I think it's going to change everything for them. And there's no way they're beating the Rams at home.
Yeah, I mean, it's Derrick Henry. We all know how great of a rusher he is, but even if he's not getting the ball, just him being in there and having that threat opens the door for everybody else on the offense. So not having him in there and not even having a very serviceable back to replace him is going to hurt the Titans offense a lot.
But
plus
I was going to make a point about, before you move on, I was going to make a point about your point about Henry. Yesterday there was a play action and Tannehill rolled out, and it was a play action to Henry, and the entire middle linebacker core went straight to the line. And Tannehill just could have done cartwheels. Because you can't not send everybody you have when you think the guy's getting the ball, and it just changes everything. Just want to reinforce your point.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's with the Rams, they just picked up Von Miller, so now you have Aaron Donald on the line, Von Miller in the linebackers, and then you have Jalen Ramsey on the outside. That's 3 of the best defensive players in the entire league right there. So
when you said that, Hefe gave you the closed eye head. He didn't just head nod. He gave you the closed eye like, oh, yeah, this is.
How do you stop that defense?
That's what I meant. That was oh, my God, that's ridiculous.
Yeah,
that's what that was.
Then you got the offensive side of the Rams that are just putting up numbers like crazy. I mean, I haven't checked the betting lines, but I would not be surprised if the Rams moved into the favorite to win the Super Bowl. I'm taking the Rams, by the way.
Yeah, and look, I know with Derrick Henry out, like you guys said, it changes everything. They have Jeremy McNichols, who's at least been in the system. He's a running back that's been in the system when he's gotten the ball, which obviously isn't a whole lot in his career. But when he gets it, looks decent. The team also met with and signed Adrian Peterson on Monday this week. So, he's obviously not Derrick Henry, but he's a freak of nature in his own right. And the last time we saw him, he still looked pretty good. Like, for what you want to say about it, he wasn't old Adrian Peterson, MVP Adrian Peterson, obviously, but Adrian Peterson is a freak of nature. He's a guy that I think can come in. He keeps himself in shape, and I, probably won't expect him to play a whole lot in this game against the Rams, but I think in the future it at least lets that team stay physical and is going to be something to keep an eye on. I think he can be a good fit for Tennessee. But like I said, I don't think he'll play a whole lot here. And I think this offense looks a lot different without Derrick Henry, because every game now you're going to have teams saying, okay, Ryan Tannehill, people hesitate to call you that elite quarterback. This is your chance to prove them all wrong. You got to do it without Derrick Henry. Now, he's going to need Julio Jones to get healthy. That hamstring's got to get right, but A.J. Brown's balling out. Unfortunately, I don't think – again, they're going up against the best defense in the league. They just got Von Miller. I think Ryan Tannehill is going to be running for his life in this game. I think A.J. Brown's going to get locked up by Jalen Ramsey. I think the Rams are going to embarrass the Titans.
Yeah, I do too. And for your point about Adrian Peterson, the workload. It's not that I don't think he can run the ball. It's the workload. He can't handle Derrick Henry. He's told to handle his workload. His body just won't put up with it. If he does for a couple games, he won't make it to the end of the season. That's going to be the difference because, like we talked about earlier. But I just want to throw that in there. But we're all three taking the Rams, and you probably should too.
And I'd like to add, before we move on to the next one here, because we're talking about the Titans, we all know Derrick Henry's a freak of nature. This dude fractured his foot halfway through the first quarter and played the rest of the game and carried the ball like 20 more times. Like, he didn't have a great game by any means, but after knowing that he had a fractured foot, you could understand why he didn't run well. But still, just to be out there, to be that distraction for the team. I mean, not only a team player, but an absolute badass to just play through that.
In a game, the Colts needed to win to stay alive, and the Titans needed to win to really loosen the noose around their neck and really start putting pieces together to make a run. They pretty much locked the division up yesterday, and you got to know Henry knew that. And that it's just amazing what you just said. It's just absolutely amazing. How long is he going to be out? Have they said?
Season, yeah.
Is he?
He's got a Liz Franks injury, so he's done for the year.
Okay, I didn't know if it was regular season or if he'd come back for the playoffs potentially. Anyway, all right. So next up is Bears at Steelers. Look, I saw somebody say, I had to be a Bears fan. They said that what the Bears need. You ready? They said the Bears need a quarterback. Bro, they got like 7 of them. They don't need another quarterback.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
What they need is a new coach.
Yeah.
So that's some Adam Gase bullshit right there. Let's blame the quarterback and Matt Nagy might be a nice guy. He might be a good coach. He might get another job somewhere else to do well. This show is over. Nagy needs fired today. The Bears need to start to recoup and recoil and start. Right now, it's and there are people like, oh, they're 3-4. They're theoretically tied for the bubble spot in the playoffs. Yeah, with 6 other teams. It include the Falcons and the Eagles. This ship is going nowhere. This season is lost. The Bears are not suddenly going to miraculously get better. This is a disaster. If you're claiming success, comparing your almost identical record to the Falcons and the Eagles, and 1 game ahead of the Giants, which are 2-5, then you should be fired too. I don't care if you're a construction worker or an office worker. If you think that the Bears are going to make the playoffs, you should be fired. The Bears are 6-12 since their 5-0 start last year. This is going nowhere fast. They're on a 3-game losing streak, about to be 4. I want to hear from those Bears fans. Is it the quarterback or is it Matt Nagy? Do we need to get him out of here? When is enough? When should he be fired? That's what I want to know. Rant over. I'm taking the Steelers. You should too.
Yeah, Justin Fields, he finally showed that he is more than capable of being a decent quarterback in the league. They went against the 49ers, who generally have a pretty good defense, and he was 19 for 27, 175 yards, 1 touchdown. He did throw 1 pick, but he also ran the ball 10 times for 103 yards and a touchdown. So he just showed that he is capable of being a quarterback, and he does have the potential to develop and get better as his career goes forward. So yes, absolutely. I like Justin Fields. Matt Nagy has to go. If he doesn't make it, if he doesn't get kicked out during this season, at the very least, let him go after this season, because he's doing nothing but bringing the Bears down when they had a possibility of being a pretty decent team.
Yeah, and for me, when it comes down to it, this year for Justin Fields, starting to remind me of what we saw last year with Joe Burrow, where he's just running for his life all game. That's how we see 10 carries for 100 yards.
Yeah, he was sacked 4 times.
Yeah, and I think the week before sacked like 9 or 10 times. Like, they're getting after him every single week. That offensive line's not protecting him. And you can't continue to let your quarterback get hit like that. And then he's running and trying to make plays because they can't get anything else going on offense. So he's taking even more hits that he doesn't need to take. So I feel like this is a dangerous game. In the fact that, I think they're going to be able to get after him. You're going to want to keep him healthy somehow. I would be doing a lot of wide receiver screens or tight end screens or running back screens, getting the ball out of your hands quick, because this defensive line is going to come at him all day long. And I think they're going to force him to make mistakes in this game, that being Justin Fields. And so, you got the Steelers at home, Mike Tomlin's the coach. I just think the Steelers are going to be too much for the Bears to handle here.
Yeah, we all agree. We're taking the Steelers. You should too. Okay, let's look at this playoff picture real quick. So on the NFC side, the Packers have right now they have the number 1 seed, and the Cardinals have the number 2 seed. Both of those teams are at 7-1. The Cowboys have the number 3 seed at 6-1, and the Buccaneers have the number 4 seed at 6-2. It's good to see winning records at the top of the division this year. But the number 5 spot belongs to the Rams at 7-1, and the number 6 spot belongs to the Saints at 5-2. The 7th spot starts to get real iffy real fast. This is kind of what I was talking about with the Eagles here. The Panthers are in the 7th spot at 4-4. The Vikings are in the 8th spot at 3-4. The Niners are in the 9th spot at 3-4. The Falcons are at the 10th spot at 3-4. The Eagles are at the 11th spot at 3-5. The Seahawks are at the 12th spot at 3-5. The Bears are at the 13th spot at 3-5. And then we drop off to the Giants. Well, drop off only one game. 14th spot is 2-5. So there's 6 teams essentially tied for the bubble spot, for this 8th spot. The Panthers are in the 7th spot, but they're just as likely to finish the season 6-11. I mean, they're 4-4 now. They could finish 6-11. The Vikings could finish 6-11. The 49ers could finish 6-11. The Falcons could finish 6-11. The Eagles could finish 9-8 or whatever. The Seahawks could finish 9 or 8. So there's no telling. My point is, I made the point earlier. The Eagles could make the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, I hadn't gotten that far down into the playoff bracket until I started looking while we were talking about that last game.
Crazy.
Yeah.
It's absolutely crazy. And it's crazy that there's so much disparity between 6 and 7. You know, the 6 spots, and we know that anybody the 7 down gets in the playoffs, they're not going to do much damage. So that's all right. So that's the NFC. That's the way that looks. The AFC, the Titans have the number 1 spot at 6-2. The Raiders have the number 2 spot at 5-2. The Ravens have the number 3 spot at 5-2, and the Bills have the number 4 spot at 5-2. The Bills, by the time this shakes out, I expect the Bills to have the number 1 seed. Just my thought. You guys agree with that?
Yeah, I expect the Titans to slip, not having Derrick Henry. The Raiders and Chargers are going to be battling out for the divisional lead there, and then the AFC North's pretty tough with the Ravens, so they'll slip a bit. So yeah, I could see the Bills up there.
And the Bills' schedule, the AFC East team schedules, it's very friendly this year. The Bills have a pretty easy schedule.
Yeah. So the number 5 spot goes to the Bengals at 5-3, just a half game behind the Ravens. So that, and the Steelers are 4-3, a game behind that. So they're a game and a half behind the Ravens. So the AFC North is still up for grabs. Chargers at number 7 at 4-3, and those AFC North teams are going to continue to beat each other, which may help the Chargers if they can put some things together. And number 8, Hefe, is the Patriots at 4-4 on the bubble, looking at these AFC North teams going to beat the hell out of each other, and the Chargers, who haven't really figured out what they're going to do. The Patriots may squeeze into the playoffs here, but there's a stack up there as well. The Patriots at 8, Browns at 9, Broncos at 10, all at 4-4. The Chiefs at 11 at 3-4, and the Colts at 12 at 3-5. So the Colts did not do themselves any favors yesterday whatsoever. The Chiefs are on the verge of knocking themselves out of the playoffs. It'll be interesting to see if they can turn that around. I don't think the Broncos are going to do anything. I think we're looking at these AFC North teams and the Patriots, the Browns, and the Patriots and the Browns. I'm sorry, as fighting in for those 6 and 7 spots. Any thoughts on the playoff picture?
It's well, I'm sitting here looking at the Colts. It's going to be a tough road if they want to do anything and get in there. I mean, because the Chiefs could bounce back. I don't know if they will, just because their defense is so bad, but they could potentially bounce back in there. And then you have one of the AFC North or two of the AFC North teams battling out for a wild card spot. Then you have the Raiders and the Chargers battling out. So it's going to be very difficult for the Colts to sneak up there.
I mean, with the Colts schedule, as a Colts fan, all I can hope for is that these AFC teams just keep to beat each other up. If the top seed in the AFC ends up with, 5 or 6 losses, and the Colts can figure out a way to finish these games off and actually beat some good teams down the stretch, then, maybe we sneak in as a 7 seed again and then actually beat a good team like the Bills, get some redemption for last year. But it's looking iffy right now for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wouldn't it be crazy if the AFC North had all 4 teams in there?
It would be crazy, and it would not be improbable. I mean, that could happen. Look at this picture.
Yeah, the Browns are right there.
Yeah. Yeah. Unfortunately, I mean, they're going to be beating each other, which is the only thing probably going to prevent that from happening. But I'd have to look. We'd have to break down the schedules mathematically to see if that's possible. But they're certainly all 4 good enough.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's it. Does it for this week. We want to remind you to please be sure to tell some friends to show us some love, like, share, and subscribe, and all that stuff. Be sure to tell them they be sure to tell your friends and your grandma that you can catch our weekly rundown and our fantasy draft show on Thursday at 2 p.m. Arizona time, which is right now, I think 5 p.m. Eastern. I think next week after Sunday it changes to 4 p.m. And for the rest of the season. Find more information about that at wubi.live. And it's never too late to join us in the Pigskin Pick'em Challenge. Find the link pinned at the top of our Facebook and Twitter pages at Horsemen Sports, or just go to the ESPN Pigskin Pick'em site and search for Horsemen Sports. Find us there. We announce the weekly winners each week. On the show, you can't win the entire season, but you can join the fun from week to week and join us on that. We'd love to see you there. And, of course, we will see you back here again next week for week 10. Until then, thanks for joining us. Deuces.